Have you ever wondered how far your faith could carry you in times of adversity? Picture the Israelites wandering in the arid desert of sin, their parched lips yearning for a drop of water. The once thriving multitude now finds themselves in a desolate wilderness, grappling with the harsh reality of their situation. Overcome by thirst, the Israelites challenge Moses, their leader. They question the very purpose of their exodus from Egypt, their voices laced with despair and frustration. Was it for this barren land? Was it to perish in this desolate desert, with their tongues stuck to the roofs of their mouths, crying out for water? But Moses, steadfast as ever, does not falter. He cries out to God, laying bare his fears and seeking divine guidance. Instead of succumbing to the mounting pressure, he turns to his faith, reaffirming his trust in God's plan. In moments of despair, Moses turned to God, setting a precedent for all believers. What would you do if you were asked to strike a rock to get water? Imagine the scene, a weary group of Israelites, parched and desperate in the desert of sin. Their leader Moses is faced with an incredible challenge. God has commanded him to strike a rock with his staff, with the promise that water will flow from it. It's a daunting task, isn't it? To believe that a mere tap on a barren rock could produce a stream of life-sustaining water. But this is the crux of the story at Massah and Meribah. Moses, despite the seemingly impossible nature of this instruction, chooses to obey. He lifts his staff, strikes the rock, and what happens next is nothing short of a miracle. Water gushes forth from the rock, a river in the desert, quenching the thirst of the people and their livestock. It's an extraordinary testament to the power of obedience and faith. This event is not just about the physical sustenance provided by the water. It's a symbolic message, a divine lesson about faith and trust. The Israelites, in their thirst, were doubting the promise of God. They questioned Moses, they questioned their journey, and they questioned the promise of a land flowing with milk and honey. But God, in his infinite wisdom, used this moment to teach a profound lesson. He chose a seemingly impossible method to provide for the Israelites, showing them that even when circumstances seem dire, his provision is never far away. He showed them that faith doesn't always make sense to our finite minds, but it's in the trusting, in the stepping out, in the striking of the rock, where miracles happen. So, what does the miracle at Massah and Meribah teach us? It reminds us that faith often requires us to step into the unknown, to trust in the unseen, and to believe in the impossible. It tells us that God's ways are not our ways, and his thoughts are not our thoughts. God's provision came in an unexpected form, proving that faith can move mountains, or in this case, bring water from a rock. Have you ever felt like the odds were stacked against you? Let's turn our attention to the narrative's shift towards the battle against the Amalekites. Moses, the leader of the Israelites, appoints Joshua to lead the charge into this daunting conflict. Meanwhile, Moses, along with Aaron and Hur, ascends a hill. Here's where the story gets fascinating. As long as Moses keeps his hands raised, the Israelites find themselves prevailing in the battle. Yet when he tires and his hands fall, the Amalekites begin to gain the upper hand. The tide of the battle is tied to Moses' stamina, but he's only human and fatigue sets in. But this is where Aaron and Hur step in, providing the much-needed support by holding up Moses' hands until the sun sets. Their collective effort results in a victory over the Amalekites. A victory that speaks volumes about the strength of unity. Moses' raised hands symbolize the power of faith, prayer, and communal support in overcoming adversity. How do you commemorate your victories and lessons? Following the triumphant clash against the Amalekites, God commanded Moses. He was instructed to etch the memory of this victory in a record, a symbol of remembrance for Joshua, who led the Israelites to their victory. Moses, obedient as always, followed through. He erected an altar, a sacred monument, and named it "The Lord is my banner." This name was not arbitrary. It was a vivid declaration of God's role in their victory, a testament to the divine hand that guided them, an affirmation that it was not by their strength alone, but by the power of God that they prevailed. This act of memorial not only commemorated the victory, but also served as a constant reminder of the unwavering faithfulness of God. This act of memorial serves as a reminder of God's faithfulness and the power of faith, prayer, and unity in overcoming challenges.